Hi boys and girls, today you're going to be learning about the volume of a triangular prism. So once again, volume is how much a 3D object holds. In lesson 1, you learned about rectangular prisms. So that required you to find the area of a rectangle. Today's lesson, you're doing the same exact thing, however you're working with a different shape. Your base shape will be a triangular shape. So you're going to need to apply the area of a triangular formula. So that is area equals 1/2 base times height. And then prism, which is a 3D object. Okay, so it says scanned lesson predicts 2 things you'll be learning about to find the volume of a triangular prism. So you're going to have to find the volume, and then what's going to be given is the area of the base and the height. And then in addition, you're going to find the missing dimensions. Real world link. Camping. Ari has a pup tent like the one shown. The opening of the tent has a base and a height of 6 feet. The length of the tent is 8 feet. What is the area of the front triangular face? So this is your triangular prism. Mind you that when we're working with 3D objects, it can be rotated in different ways. So in this case, this is a tent. So we see the triangle shape right over here. I know that when we hear the word base, we think of it has to be on the bottom. But if you were to rotate and push this upright, then your triangle would be the base, which is on the bottom of the floor. So once again, when you're working with 3D objects, you kind of have to have an idea of how the image would look like, the 3D prism would look like if it was flipped a certain way. So because you know the area of a triangle, we're going to apply area equals 1/2 base times height. We know that this is our base, which is 6, so therefore I inputted 6 here. And then our height here is also 6 feet tall, so then it goes right over here. So I took the half of 6, which gave me 3, and I brought down my 6, so 3 times 6 gives me 18. So then my answer is 18 square feet, or 18 feet squared. That means it's the area that's covering just the front of the triangle. I'm not sure if you're able to see my highlight, but it's right over here that I've highlighted in yellow. So that's the area of just this one face. So we call these faces, okay? So this is one face, second face, third face, fourth face, and fifth face, which is on the bottom. So this is just the first face. So now it says right here, on a piece of grid paper, draw a right triangle with a base and a height of 4 units as shown. What is the area of the triangle? So in this case, I need to find the area of that triangle that's on the bottom that I've highlighted in yellow. So if you can kind of picture it, the one on top looks exactly the same as the one on the bottom. Okay? And so I would apply my formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height to find the area of a triangle. So my base is 4. So if you count 1, so don't pay attention to these numbers yet, but 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 units right here. That's my base. Then I have my height, which is right up here, and I'm going to count it. So follow my arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. So therefore, I'm going to substitute that 4 in here. So I took the half of 4, which gave me 2. Bring down my 4. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. So my answer is 8 units squared. So that means the area of this triangle that I've highlighted is 8 units squared. So now it says right here, suppose you cover the triangle with cubes the size of 1 squared on the grid paper. How many cubes would you use? Hint, you can cut and reassemble the cubes. So this is where all the numbering comes to play, right? If you were to count up how many cubes there are, you would find out that there's 8 cubes. So let's count them together. So I have, every time it's like a whole square unit, I'm going to number it as 1. These are halves, so I'm going to leave them alone for now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, however, I'm not done working with my cubes. I notice that these are triangular shapes, so 2 triangles make up a complete square. So this would be 7, so counting these 2 together, and then this would be 8. So there's a total of 8 cubes, similar to our area that we found here. Okay? The reason why this is different is just because they're asking for cubes, so you would have to write 8 cubes instead of 8 units squared. This one's having you find the area, right? So you're going to need to find, and we call these units, so we call it units squared. Now it says right here, how many cubes would you use if you had 4 layers? Mind you that when you found 8 cubes, that was only the first layer here, right? Because we're working with a 3D object, we're going to see how many of these layers are there. So let's count that up. So we have 1 here, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 layers total. That means these 8 cubes times 4. So 8 times 4 will give me 32. So if I were to stack 4 of these 8 cubes, right, one on top of another, I would have a total of 32 cubes. So that means that this entire prism has 32 cubes in total. Now number 4 says this. Write a formula to find the volume of a triangular prism. So I know that you're all familiar with this. This is volume equals big B, right? So volume equals base times height. Now this base signifies the area of a triangle. And the last lesson you learned about, volume of a rectangle. So you would be in charge of finding the area of a rectangle. So today we're just only going to tweak this a little bit by using the area of a triangle. So that big and capitalized B represents the area of a triangle. So that formula is area equals 1/2 base times height. So I've written it here a little bit more clear for you to see. It says right here, therefore, volume equals 1/2 base times height times height. This times height came from up here. And then all this here, 1/2 equals base times height, is your capital B. So I've drawn out a little bracket that this signifies as B, this represents B, and then H is the height of the triangular prism. So not to be confused with the height of your triangle, okay? So please don't confuse these two heights. All right, volume of a triangular prism. The volume V of a triangular prism is the area of the base B times the height H. So as you can see right here, this is our base. So our triangular prism is flipped over, right? So comparing this to the tent, right? So the base right there was the triangle, right? But make sure that you do not calculate that as your triangular prism, because this is a rectangular prism. You need to calculate this as a triangular prism because it has a triangular shape here. Okay, so please don't think that, oh, because this is a rectangle, this is a rectangular prism. It's not. It's a triangular prism because there's a triangular shape here. So if this was flipped over, it would represent this, right? So your 1/2 base times height would be your area of your triangle right here. Now, this is the other extra height that we have to multiply, and that's going to be your H right over here. Okay, so volume equals the capitalized B, which is all the things shaded here, times this height, which is right over here. So in a triangular prism, the bases are congruent triangles. The diagram below shows that the volume of the triangular prism is also the product of the area of the base B and the height H of the prism. So product means multiply, so therefore your formula is volume equals base times height. So I've highlighted right over here to show you that this is going to be your area of your triangle that you're trying to find. That's your big B. And then this is your height. That's how tall your triangular prism is, right? So taking a look at example 1, it says, find the volume of the triangular prism. The area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height, right? So our base is 8, as you can see right over here. So this is going to be our triangular area that we're trying to find, okay? This bottom portion of it. So that's going to be 8. And our height, please do not confuse it with this. I've highlighted in yellow to represent that this right here is the height of the triangle. So if you just focus on this shape and forget about everything else, you'll notice that this is a triangle, right? And you're doing exactly what you've done in chapter 9, which is 1/2 base times height, okay? And then all you need to do is just multiply the 13 afterwards. So that's going to be in blue. Okay, so everything that's highlighted in yellow, that means that you're finding the area of the triangle. Whereas things that I'm highlighting in blue will represent the height of the triangular prism. All right, so since it's volume equals base times height, I have my 1/2 base times height, right? Which is exactly what I got from here. And then times this 13, which is the height of my triangular prism. So I noticed that 1/2 times 8 times 10 will give me 40. And then 40 times 13 will give me 520. Now, since I'm working with volume, I have to remember to say volumes cube, right? So, not volumes cube, 520 meters cube. So do not forget to cube it right over here. Or you could just call it cubic meters as well. All right, moving on to example 2. A large skateboard ramp is shown. Find the volume of the triangular prism. The base is a triangle with the base length of 10 feet and a height of 7 feet. The height of the prism is 4 feet. So I went ahead and I've highlighted the triangle in yellow for you, and then you've noticed that I've highlighted the 10 for the base and then the 7 for the height of just the triangle. Okay, this is going to be the height of our triangular prism. So I'm going to plug everything back in. So 1/2 base times height to find the area of this shaded triangle. And then lastly, I'm going to substitute the 4 in. That's the height of the prism. So I find out that 1/2 times 10 times 7 gives me 35. And then bring down the 4 times 4 will give me 140. So our answer is 140 feet cube, or 140 cubic feet. All right, now we're going to find the missing dimensions. To find the missing dimensions of the triangular prism, you're just going to replace the variables with known measurements. Then solve for the unknown measurements. So right here, I have volume equals base times height. Now, I noticed that I have my volume here, but the only thing that's missing is my height of my triangular prism. Not my triangle, my triangular prism. So I'm just going to plug everything I know. So I have my 12, which is my volume, and then I have my 1/2, and then times 1, that's my base, and then my height, which is 0.3. And then if I multiply all that together, I should get 0.15 and then bring down the height and then bring down the 12. Now, in order to get h alone, instead of opposite of multiply, the inverse is divide. So I'm going to divide that by 0.15. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do to the other side as well. So this gets canceled out, and I'm left with h equals to 80, because 12 divided by 0.15 is 80. So I find out that my height of the prism is 80 centimeters. So that's the missing dimension here. Did you notice that I did not cube it because I'm not finding the volume? The volume has already been found for me. Okay. All right. Number 4, example 4. Dwayne bought a cheese wedge for his March Madness party. The cheese wedge has a dimension shown. The volume of the cheese wedge is 54 cubic inches. What is the height of the cheese wedge? So if you notice, these are exactly the same exact triangles. It's just that this gives me the base and this gives me the height. So if this is 3, this also must be 3. If this is 4, this also must be 4. So my my formula is volume equals base times height. I'm just going to plug everything I know about that triangle. So 1/2 base, right, times height, base times height, which is everything I've highlighted in yellow. And then I know my volume, right? Because it did say right here in the problem, so I'm going to plug in 54. The only thing that's missing is the height of the prism. Okay, mind you that I said the word prism, not triangle, right? The triangular prism. These, however, are the for the area of the triangle. So then after I multiply all this, I should get 6h, and then bring down my 54. And then I want to get h alone, so therefore I'm going to do the inverse. Instead of multiplying, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide that by 6. Whatever I do one side, I do the other side. And then this 6 and 6 cancels out. I'm left with h, and 54 divided by 6 gives me 9. So I find out that my answer is 9 inches. So that is the height of my triangular prism. Right? That's all, boys and girls.